Declaring identity before results if I was starting over, and everything around me screamed lack. No money in my account, no opportunities calling my name, no applause, no recognition. I would still wake up every morning and say this one line until it burned through the lies. I am not broke, I am becoming. This isn't denial, it's design. It's not pretending things aren't hard. It's choosing not to let hardship define you. There is a vast difference between your current condition and your permanent identity. The danger isn't being broke, the danger is believing you are. The richest people in the world didn't start rich. They started with a becoming mindset. Elon Musk was sleeping on a couch in his office when he was building Zip2. Oprah wore potato, sack dresses as a child, and was raised in poverty. Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks, grew up in the projects, but none of them allowed broke to become their identity. They were becoming something while surrounded by what looked like nothing. The world responds not to your need, but to your belief. That's why this declaration is powerful. When you say, I am becoming, you invite the world to shift with you. You stop rehearsing lack and start rehearsing legacy. You stop magnifying absence and start building abundance. I met a young man once who had lost everything. Business failed, marriage failed, confidence shattered. One day, while standing in front of a mirror, he said something that changed his life. This is not where I end. This is where I begin. He repeated it every day. With no money and no external change, he still kept saying it. He applied for a job, got rejected. He applied again, got rejected again. But he kept declaring, I am becoming. Eventually, someone gave him a chance. He learned, he grew, and today he owns multiple businesses. Not because of luck, but because he refused to speak death over his life. Too many people curse their future by the way they talk about their present. They say things like, I'll never get out of this, or I'm just not cut out for wealth. And heaven listens. Your words are like seeds. They either produce fruit or weeds. That's why this first principle matters. Before your wallet changes, your words must. Think of the caterpillar. By all accounts, it looks lowly, vulnerable, even unattractive. But inside, there's a blueprint for wings. Imagine if the caterpillar said, I'm just a worm, I'll never fly. It would never enter the cocoon. It would never transform. In the same way, when you refuse to declare who you're becoming, you deny yourself the space to transform. Your identity must come from your destiny, not your history. That's how you override generational lack, break cycles, and build wealth even when you've never seen it modeled. I've spoken to people who say, no one in my family has ever owned a home. We just survive. And my response is always, you may have come from survival, but you were born to build. Broke is not a permanent label, it's a temporary condition. If you treat it like truth, you'll make decisions from desperation, not destiny. But when you speak becoming, you make decisions from a place of power. You look at a bill and say, this doesn't scare me. It challenges me. You look at an empty bank account and say, you won't be like this forever. You look at your lack of resources and say, this is where I sharpen my creativity. And the truth is, most millionaires didn't inherit wealth. According to a study by Fidelity, 88% of millionaires are self-made. They didn't come from riches, they came from resilience. What separated them wasn't just strategy, it was belief. They believed they were becoming even when there was no proof around them. So if I was starting over, before I learned about investing, marketing, or business plans, I would learn to master my mouth. I would walk in rooms where I felt small and say, I am becoming. I would show up to my job, even if it paid little, and say, this is a step, not a sentence. I would walk through the grocery store counting coins and whisper, I won't be here forever. Say it when you feel like quitting. Say it when you're tired. Say it when you're working the night shift, when they laugh at your dreams, when you fail and fall and start again. Say it until your soul believes it, because the minute your mouth shifts, your mind follows, and your money soon will. I am not broke. I am becoming. Mastering the mindset before wealth arrives. If I were starting over, one of the first truths I would embed into the foundation of my spirit is this: money is a tool, not a master. Why? Because until you master the purpose of money, you will remain its slave, no matter how much of it you acquire. Most people aren't poor because they lack money. They're poor because they lack a healthy relationship with money. You can hand a fool a fortune, and in months he'll be bankrupt. But give a wise man a seed, and he'll build a future. That's the difference between people who worship money and people who use it. When you treat money as a master, you chase it endlessly. It dictates your decisions. You compromise your values for it. You lose sleep over it. You sabotage relationships for it. But when you understand that money is a tool, you shift the power dynamic. You begin to steward it. You direct it. You assign it. You multiply it. Not for greed, but for purpose. Think of a hammer. A hammer is powerful in the hands of a builder. It creates, it shapes, it erects homes. But in the hands of a child who doesn't understand its purpose, it damages, it breaks, it injures. The same is true of money. It builds lives or destroys them depending on the wisdom of the one who holds it. One of the richest men to ever live, John D. Rockefeller, once said, "I believe that every right implies a responsibility, every opportunity an obligation, every possession a duty." He saw wealth not as a prize but as a responsibility. That mindset allowed him to give away over $500 million during his lifetime, more than most people will ever see. Why? Because money didn't control him. He controlled it. If I were starting over, I wouldn't envy those with big cars or luxurious vacations. I would observe them. I would ask, did this man buy the car to show off or to reward a season of sacrifice? Is she on that vacation because she saved for it, or is she drowning in debt to impress others? In a world of fake lifestyles and borrowed dreams, you must develop the wisdom to see through the glitter. Because money that masters you will always lead to destruction. Debt is one of the clearest signs that money has become a master. It whispers, "You need this now." It convinces you that delay is denial. But when you use money as a tool, you tell your desires, "Not yet. I'm building something bigger." You delay gratification not out of lack, but out of purpose. Let me tell you about Jamal. Jamal worked as a warehouse loader. Hard job, long shifts, small pay, but he had a dream to start his own delivery company. Every month he took a portion of his paycheck and bought one piece of equipment: gloves, dollies, safety straps, then a van. It took him 3 years, while others mocked him for being cheap. He reminded himself, "Money is my tool, not my God." That tool eventually opened a business. That business now hires 15 other drivers. He didn't pray for a miracle. He became one by mastering money's purpose. We live in a culture that idolizes income and overlooks wisdom. But it's not about how much you make. It's about how well you manage what you have. Proverbs says, "A fool and his money are soon parted." That's not just scripture, it's psychology. Lottery winners go bankrupt not because of curses, but because their money outgrew their mindset. So what would I do if I were starting over? I'd create a spending plan, not because I'm broke, but because I have vision. I'd tithe and give, not because I'm religious, but because generosity trains my heart to detach from greed. I'd save, not because I fear lack, but because I'm preparing for opportunity. I'd invest not to get rich quick, but to become wise long term. These are not just financial actions, they are spiritual postures. They show the universe, I am not owned by what I earn, I govern it. That level of maturity separates those who last from those who flash and fade. So today, Whether you have 100 rupees or $100,000, say this with me: money is a tool, not a master. You'll find that once you stop chasing it and start directing it, money will begin to flow not just to you, but through you. Why internal growth precedes external breakthrough. If I was starting over, I would tell myself every single day, every day I build value, even when no one's watching, because the most important work is done in silence. The most powerful transformation happens when the crowd is absent and the applause is missing. The greatest mistake people make on the path to wealth is waiting for visibility before committing to value. But fruit doesn't grow in the spotlight. It grows underground, in the hidden place, in the dark, in the soil, far from validation. By the time the tree emerges, the root has already done the work. If you're starting over and nobody knows your name, and no one is liking your posts, hiring your services, or affirming your dreams, let me tell you, you're in the most important season of your life. Because this is where character is built. This is where habits are formed. This is where you build value that will eventually draw the world toward you. People often ask, how do I become successful? That's the wrong question. Ask instead, how do I become valuable? Because money always flows toward value. Look at Steve Jobs. Before anyone knew his name, he was in a garage, building something the world had never seen. He didn't start with applause. He started with excellence. Let me show you a real story. There's a woman named Tenny from Lagos, Nigeria. She had a passion for interior design, but no clients. Instead of waiting for customers to come, she created value in silence. She redesigned her own small room, documented the process, shared it on social media. Again and again, no likes, no shares, but she kept going. She started offering free design consultations to her neighbors. Eventually, one person took a chance on her. That one project turned into 3. Now she runs a full-scale firm with clients across West Africa. She built value when no one was clapping, and now the claps don't stop. That's the difference. Most people stop because they're not being seen. But let me remind you, you are not being overlooked. You are being prepared. You're not invisible. You're incubating. Every skill you build in silence will eventually speak for you in places your voice cannot reach. Every night you stay up learning, every day you spend improving, every habit you form in private becomes the foundation of your public success. The problem is that we live in a world addicted to attention. People would rather look rich than become wealthy. They'd rather be famous than be fruitful. But true wealth doesn't grow on stages. It grows in systems, and systems are built in private. I remember a young man who wanted to be a speaker. He said, "No one's inviting me." I said, "Are you speaking to the mirror?" He laughed. I wasn't joking. I told him, if you're not willing to speak when the room is empty, you won't survive when the room is full. Today, he travels and speaks to thousands. But it started with value in the shadows. If you're a writer, write even if no one reads. If you're a designer, design even when no one sees. If you're an entrepreneur, build ideas even if no one buys yet. Because when the moment of opportunity comes, it will be too late to prepare. Excellence must already be your normal. When I look at diamonds, I'm reminded that pressure alone doesn't produce value. Pressure without process is just pain. It's the process, repeated, intentional refinement, that makes diamonds. That's what building value looks like. It's not glamorous, it's not public, but it is powerful. So how do you do it? Wake up with discipline, even when your phone is silent. Study your craft when others are scrolling. Build consistency, not for praise, but for purpose. Track your growth privately so that your progress doesn't depend on applause. Say daily, I will outgrow this season because I am growing within it. Remember, athletes don't train on game day. They train when no one's watching, and when the game arrives, they don't rise to the occasion. They fall back on their preparation. In the same way, your financial breakthrough won't be a surprise. It will be the natural outcome of your silent, unseen work. If I were starting over, I'd stop performing and start becoming. I would honor the season of obscurity as the workshop of destiny. I'd say to myself, every day I build value, even when no one's watching. Because I know that one day the world will come looking for exactly what I've been shaping in silence. Say it with me now. Every day I build value, even when no one's watching. And when you finally stand in the light, it won't be luck. It'll be proof that you honored the darkness. Focus on solving problems, not chasing profit. If I were starting over, I would anchor myself in this truth. I don't chase money. I attract it by becoming valuable. We've been conditioned to think that the key to wealth is hustle. That if we chase harder, grind longer, run faster, we'll somehow capture the thing we lack. But wealth doesn't chase desperation. It follows value. When you chase money, you become its slave. But when you become valuable, money becomes your servant. This declaration is a mindset shift. It moves you from panic to purpose, from begging to building, from fear to focus. When you say, I attract money by becoming valuable, you're not relying on luck or handouts. You're taking responsibility for becoming a person that money and opportunity cannot ignore. Look around at the world. Who gets paid the most? The people who solve the biggest problems. Doctors don't earn more because they work harder. They solve life-threatening problems. Software engineers don't get paid well just for writing code. They solve global digital challenges. Entertainers, lawyers, consultants. They all get rewarded based on one thing, the value they deliver. So if I was starting over, I wouldn't ask, how can I get rich? I would ask, what problem can I solve better than most people? Because money is the reward for relevance. You want to be paid, become relevant. You want to become relevant, solve something. Let me tell you a true story. There was a young woman named Amara in Nairobi who loved baking, but no one was buying. She was frustrated. She had dreams of financial freedom, but no customers. Then, one day, she shifted her thinking. Instead of chasing money, she asked, what's the biggest food-related problem in my area? She realized that most working mothers didn't have time to prepare healthy birthday cakes for their kids. So she offered to make personalized cakes with low sugar, fast delivery, and custom characters. She didn't run after sales. She became valuable to a specific group. Her orders tripled. Then she scaled with online booking. She's now financially independent, not because she chased money, but because she solved a focused problem and became valuable. This is a formula. Value, visibility, wealth, not the other way around. When you build value, people talk. When people talk, your visibility grows. When your visibility grows, so does your income. But it all starts with value. Most people want to skip steps. They want visibility without value. They want money without meaning. But shortcuts create short-lived success. If you want your wealth to last, build value that lasts. This also means your focus should be on growth, not gain. Every day I would ask myself, how can I grow in skill, in excellence, in strategy? And I'd say, if I focus on growing me, money will find me. Because money always finds people who refuse to remain the same. There's also a spiritual principle here. When you chase money, you worship it. And whatever you worship controls you. But when you see yourself as a vessel of value, you walk in authority. You're no longer begging for blessings. You're becoming one. Let me be practical here. If you're a writer, become the best storyteller in your niche. If you're a tailor, study body types, fabric science, fashion history. If you're a teacher, learn new methods of delivery, become unforgettable. Whatever you do, become irreplaceable, because irreplaceable people never struggle for income. They become magnets for it. Another example, a man named Jordan in Atlanta started mowing lawns as a side hustle, but he didn't treat it casually. He studied lawn care science. He learned landscaping design. He began offering custom garden layouts, then added holiday lighting services. He didn't chase customers. He became the most valuable option in his community. Within 3 years, he franchised his business. He now teaches others how to grow lawn care empires. Not bad for someone who started with a push mower and a mindset shift. Here's the truth. Wealth is not chased, it's attracted. Not by force, but by flow. The moment you focus on service over self, money begins to respond. So say this with me: I do not chase money. I attract it by becoming valuable. Let that be your anthem. Let it guide your strategy, your development, your brand, your business, your work ethic. Stop running after money. It's time to stand in your value so it can come running to you. The power of confession, declarations, and strategic speech. If I were starting over, I would guard my mouth like it held the keys to my bank account, because it does. I would remind myself every morning and every night, my words shape my wallet. Your mouth is a manufacturing plant. What you speak consistently begins to form patterns in your mind, habits in your behavior, and fruit in your life. Words are not empty, they are seeds, and just like in nature, the harvest of your life is determined by the seeds you sow with your mouth. There are people living in financial lack today, not because of a lack of opportunities, but because of the words they have spoken for years. Phrases like, "I'll never get ahead," "Money doesn't grow on trees," "I'm just not good with money," "People like me don't get rich." These are not just sentences. They are spiritual contracts, agreements with limitation, and every time you speak them, you renew the contract. But when you flip the script and begin speaking what aligns with your future, you tear up the contract of poverty and begin authoring a new financial reality. There's a story about a woman named Layla who grew up hearing her parents argue about money constantly. They'd say, "We'll always be broke, and only dishonest people get rich." She adopted those beliefs unconsciously. Even when she started earning well, she felt guilty spending, afraid of saving, and sabotaged her investments. It wasn't until she started writing daily affirmations, saying aloud, "I attract wealth with integrity, and I am a wise steward of money," that things began to shift. She changed her internal vocabulary, and her external life followed. She now runs a successful financial coaching brand, helping others uproot toxic money language. Think of this: the very first recorded act of divine power was not action. It was speech. "Let there be light," and light responded. If creation answers to words, then surely your wall, it does too. In the business world, top CEOs are often asked, "What was the key to your success?" And while their strategies vary, a common thread is always mindset, and mindset is built through repetition. Jeff Bezos once said, "We are our habits, but where do habits begin? In the mind, and what shapes the mind? The mouth. If you tell yourself you're overwhelmed, you will behave overwhelmed. If you declare daily, 'I create value,' that attracts compensation. Your behavior begins to align with productivity, not panic. Your language either makes room for increase or builds walls that repel it. There was a young entrepreneur named Bilal from Karachi. He had the skills. He was excellent in IT, graphics, and social media marketing. But he kept saying, "I'm not good at selling." That sentence became a wall. He avoided pitches. He stayed underpaid. Until one day he wrote a new sentence and said it 10 times a day. "People want what I have. My skills are valuable and my voice is worth hearing." Within months, he gained the courage to pitch, charge higher rates, and soon opened his own agency. His clients didn't change. His words did. Your subconscious listens to you more than it listens to anyone else. It doesn't care if what you say is true or false. It simply believes what you say most. That's why you must declare the future you desire, not the frustration you feel. Every time you speak fear, your brain releases chemicals that reinforce anxiety. But when you speak belief, Your body begins to align with hope, vision, and momentum. This isn't wishful thinking. It's neuroscience and scripture working together. Studies from the Journal of Positive Psychology show that people who use positive self-affirmation daily experience increased productivity, confidence, and long-term success. Your wall, it isn't just shaped by how you work, it's shaped by how you speak. So, how do you apply this? Write down 3 declarations about your financial future. Say them out loud every morning, every night, and during moments of fear or doubt. Correct your own language. If you catch yourself saying, "I can't afford that," change it to, "How can I afford that?" Surround yourself with people who speak life, not lack. Here are examples of powerful money declarations. I am a magnet for wealth and wisdom. I solve problems that people are willing to pay for. My income increases as my impact expands. I am disciplined, focused, and faithful with money. Opportunities chase me because I am prepared. Say them with emotion. Say them with conviction. Say them until your environment has no choice but to adjust to the fire in your mouth. If I were starting over, I'd understand that my income begins in my inner conversation. And I'd speak not where I am, but where I'm going, because I'm not just talking, I'm creating. My words shape my wallet. Curating environments that attract elevation. If I were starting over, I would sit down and say this out loud before doing anything else. My circle will match my future, not my past. Why? Because nothing sabotages a millionaire destiny faster than a survival circle. If you're surrounded by people who think small, talk small, and dream small, you'll shrink to survive. But if you intentionally build a circle that matches the future you're aiming for, you'll grow into the person who can handle the wealth you're meant to carry. Your environment is more prophetic than your intentions. You can have millionaire goals, but if you're planted in a crowd that idolizes mediocrity, mocks ambition, or fears success, you will begin to conform. And this conformity is subtle. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It tells you, "Be humble," when it really means, "Don't shine." It says, "Be realistic," when it really means, "Stay broke with us." The truth is, you don't just need motivation, you need elevation. And elevation often comes through association. Let me give you an example. There's a man named Darius who was raised in a low-income neighborhood in Atlanta. He had big dreams. He wanted to launch a tech company. But every time he talked about it, his friends laughed. They'd say things like, "That's for rich white kids," or "Man, we're just trying to survive out here." For a while he believed them. Then one day he attended a free business meetup in another part of the city. There he met other young men who were building apps, coding late nights, reading books, and speaking growth. Darius kept going. Within a year, his circle had completely changed. His conversations evolved. His language shifted. His habits matured. That one decision to upgrade his environment eventually led to a 6-figure app launch. He didn't get smarter. He got surrounded. This is what I mean when I say, my circle will match my future, not my past. You don't owe your past your loyalty. You owe your future your alignment. That doesn't mean you hate where you came from. It means you honor it by outgrowing it, by showing what's possible, by refusing to let trauma or tradition define your ceiling. If you look at all major success stories, wealthy entrepreneurs, inventors, athletes, what you'll often find behind the scenes is a shift in community. Whether it was a mentor, a mastermind group, or just a friend who believed in them, their circle changed before their income did. Think about it. A seed can only grow if the soil supports it. You are that seed. Your dreams, your goals, your ideas. They need the right soil to thrive. Toxic soil chokes potential. Rich soil accelerates it. So how do you build a future-aligned circle? Audit your current environment. Ask yourself, who in my life stretches me, who drains me, who inspires bold action, and who triggers fear? Seek growth environments intentionally. That may be a new church, a business group, a book club, or even an online community of dreamers and doers. Go where vision is normal. Be willing to walk alone for a season. Elevation sometimes begins with isolation. Don't fear the lonely road. It's a corridor to destiny. Speak your goals out loud and see who stays. The people who react with support are likely aligned. The ones who mock or minimize are exposing their discomfort with your evolution. You also need to understand that your future isn't just financial. It's emotional, spiritual, relational. You need people who not only talk money, but walk character, because wealth without wisdom is dangerous. And your circle should challenge you in both. There's also a psychological reality here. Research from Harvard University and MIT proves that your income tends to align with the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This isn't just theory, it's science. Your circle literally affects your financial ceiling. If you're surrounded by gossip, poverty mindsets, consumerism, and fear, you'll start echoing those beliefs. But if you're surrounded by vision, discipline, financial literacy, faith, and strategy, you'll rise, often without realizing how far you've come. So I would declare this truth daily. My circle will match my future, not my past. And I would back it up with bold action. I would protect my energy like it's capital. I would invest my time where it multiplies, not where it leaks. I would choose friends who call me higher, not drag me back to history, because you don't build $1 million life with $10 conversations. You build it by surrounding yourself with people who believe that impact and income go together, that faith and finance can coexist, and that legacy is more powerful than lifestyle. Say it again with boldness. My circle will match my future, not my past. Your wall, it will thank you. But more importantly, your soul will breathe.